Hey YouTube, how are you doing? I have a special video for y'all today. I took ChatGPT and I told it to make me a short story. I gave it a couple of themes, I gave it a couple of facts that I would like the story to have with the characters, and this is what it produced. The title, The Quest for the Golden Spoon. Once upon a time in our tiny village of Slobberton, there were two bumbling friends, Bert and Dave. They were as bright as a box of rocks and about as coordinated as a herd of cows on roller skates. Bert was tall, gangly, and had a bad habit of tripping over his own feet. Dave, on the other hand, was short, round, and had a tendency to forget which way he was facing mid-conversation. What was that? Where am I? Anywho, one lazy afternoon, as they lounged in the village square, an old man with a long white beard and an eye patch approached them. His name was Old Man Grumble, and he was known for telling wild stories about distant lands and treasure hunts. "You two," Old Man Grumble said, squinting at them with his one good eye, "are perfect candidates for a quest." Bert and Dave looked at each other, their eyes lighting up with the same expression they usually had when presented with terrible ideas. They were not known for their intelligence, but they were known for their enthusiasm, and they lacked any concept of danger. "What kind of quest?" Bert asked, stepping forward, trying and failing to act confident. "Ah, the greatest quest of all," Grumble said, his voice taking on a dramatic tone. "You must retrieve the golden spoon of Zoltar from the dark cavern of doom." Dave's eyes widened. "Golden spoon? Can I use it to stir soup?" That's a fair question. What kind of spoon is it if it can't stir soup? "No," Grumble said, rolling his eyes. "It's a legendary artifact of unimaginable power. You must retrieve it and bring it to me." Bert and Dave exchanged looks. They had no idea what a golden spoon of Zoltar was, and why it was in a place called the Dark Caverns of Doom. But they knew two things. It sounded like an adventure. And they were bored. "We're in!" they both shouted in unison, then high-fived each other so hard that they both fell to the ground. The journey began with a series of poor decisions. First, they tried to use a map that Bert had found behind the tavern. The map, however, had been drawn by a drunken pirate, so the directions were completely nonsensical. It said things like, "Go east until you find the tree that looks like a chicken," and "turn left when you see the singing rock." None of which made any sense. Still, they pressed on, convinced they were on the right path. At one point, they ended up in a field of giant mushrooms. They both mistook the mushrooms for clouds and tried to climb them to get a better view of the landscape. "Why are they so squishy?" Dave asked, having sat down on one and sunk halfway into the mushroom. "They're clouds, Dave. Very bouncy clouds," Bert said, not bothering to stand up, and also sinking into the mushroom. After a few hours of cloud climbing, they finally decided to keep going. Along the way, they stumbled upon a group of bandits. These were not the sort of bandits who would rob you, but rather, they were bandits who simply wanted to sell you questionable, magical trinkets. "Ah, gentlemen, we've got just the thing for you," the lead bandit said, holding up a glittery rock. "This here is the Rock of True Sight. It'll help you see the future." Bert, ever the skeptic, squinted at the rock. "How does it work?" "Simple," the bandit said. "You just look at it and think really hard." Bert stared at the rock for a long moment and then said, I see. Us getting lost for the next 3 days. Dave nodded. Yeah, that checks out. They handed the bandit all their remaining coins and kept walking. I think that rock is dead on. I'm going to have to agree with Dave. Eventually, they reached the dark cavern of doom, a place so dark that they had to feel their way through the entrance. They both agreed it was probably a good idea to bring some torches, so they lit their torches and immediately set their pants on fire. Ah! Ah! Bert screamed, hopping around trying to put out the flames by rolling on the ground. That's very smart of you. How will Dave follow it up? Dave, meanwhile, tried to put out Bert's fire by throwing water on him, but accidentally threw his own torch on the ground, which caught fire immediately. After a chaotic few minutes during which both of them screamed, danced around, and rolled on the floor, the flames were finally extinguished. They looked at each other, charred and smoking. Well, that could have gone better, Bert said, his voice cracking. But we're still alive, Dave said cheerfully. I like Dave's enthusiasm. Together, they ventured deeper into the cavern, managing to avoid falling into several bottomless pits, all by sheer luck, and narrowly escaping being eaten by a giant, very nasty spider. Just because they tripped over each other and stumbled into the exit, but that's beside the point. They finally reached the heart of the cavern, where the golden spoon of Zoltar sat on a pedestal. Bathed in a golden light, it was shiny and beautiful. It looked exactly like a spoon you might find at a nice restaurant. Except it was bigger. Bert reached out and picked it up, immediately triggering a trap that caused the entire cavern to begin to collapse. But rather than panicking, they both simply ran straight forward. In doing so, they tripped over each other and tumbled down the stairs at top speeds. They ran through the narrow tunnels, ducking under falling rocks, and even somehow managed to avoid getting crushed by a rolling boulder by hiding behind this conveniently placed pillar. Finally, they bursted out the cavern entrance just as the entire cavern collapsed behind them. Covered in dust and rubble, they looked down at the golden spoon. Well, Bert said, holding it up with a grin. We did it. Dave nodded, smiling broadly. We didn't die. That's a win in my book. Old Man Grumble was waiting for them at the entrance of the cave, looking both impressed and slightly confused. You did it? Yep, Bert said, heading over the spoon. We totally didn't die. And we only caught fire like 3 times, Dave added helpfully. Grumble took the spoon and examined it closely. He then gave them a long, thoughtful look before shaking his head. You two are dumber than a sack of potatoes, but somehow you did it. They grinned at each other, proud of their lack of smarts and their abundance of luck. Thanks for the quest, said Dave, waving as they left. Yeah, Bert agreed. We'll come back for another one sometime, but only if we can not have fire involved. And so, Bert and Dave returned to Slobberton, their reputation as accidental heroes forever cemented. They may not have been the sharpest tool in the shed, but their determination, misguided confidence, and sheer dumb luck had carried them to victory. And for once, that was enough. Interesting story. I like it, but it lacks a few things. It should have went a little bit more into the cavern. And why does this Grobble guy know where the cave was, knowing that he completely made this place up? Like, it would have been much better if they had to adventure back to the village, added in some more shenanigans on the way, more endeavors that they somehow luckily merely escaped, and then brought Grumble the Spoon, who entirely forgot that he even sent them on the quest because he's already rambled through the entire town about 6 other quests and things that weren't real, just to be met with this golden spoon. But I might have to do this again sometime. Anyways, if you liked this video, then hit that like button. If you dislike it, hit the dislike button. If you want to see my future videos as I upload, just hit that subscribe button and make sure the notifications are turned on. It is not necessary, but it is just to help you find any of my future videos if you are wanting to follow me that closely. And leave comments. I do respond and look at those. If you want to see more future videos like this one, just let me know in the comments. But for now, this is more of just a special thing that you may get once in a while. And I will be seeing y'all in the future. Thank you for joining. Y'all have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.